This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the October 4th, 2023 South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. We do have all commissioners present this evening. At this time, I would ask you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to announce that the Board of Commissioners did meet in executive session this evening prior to tonight's meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. I'd also like to announce that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted to board docs for public access. At this time, I'll ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to review our public and virtual meeting rules.
Thank you. The public and virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the Board of Commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you will have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Moving on to agenda item 4, courtesy of the floor. This is opportunity for any member of the public to approach the board on any non-agenda items. Is there anyone present this evening? Yes, ma'am. If you would please come up to the microphone, make sure that green light is on. There's a button to press there. And if you give us your name and address. Hold on just one moment. There we go. Thank you.
Lynn Champagne, 3548 Warwick Place, Allentown, 18104. My husband, Mark Champagne, and I have resided for over 30 years at our home in South Whitehall. This is the first concern that we have brought to the Board of Commissioners. On August the 10th, we were informed by the water meter specialist that our water use had spiked very high over the last 2 months. Starting on June the 2nd and continuing through the afternoon of August the 9th, the meter reading showed over 150,000 gallons of water for the quarter. We were not aware of any leaks. In August and in September, we had 2 plumbing services come to our home. Each service inspected and found no inside or outside leaks. We do not water our lawn. We don't have a swimming pool. We have 2 outside water spigots, which have been locked since 2020. The township replaced the old water meter on August 21st. Herb Bender sent his public work personnel to our home last week to check for leaks, and none were found. No one has been able to find a reason for the excessive water use reported on the old meter. Nor has anyone been able to find a reason that our reported usage on August the 10th went back to normal level of less than 80 gallons per day. Our concern is with the excessively high water and sewer bills for this last quarter. Mark and I respectfully request that you approve an adjustment to our water and sewer bills for the quarter ending August the 6th, 2023. That would be an average of the last 5 years in the same quarter, and that becomes 11,293 gallons. Mark has some information that he would like to share about our record of water usage. You'll see highlighted at the top the 150,000 gallons. And then you'll see what the levels have been in previous quarters.
Thank you.
And we have it back to 2017 in one page and 2012 on the other page. And then the third page shows a graph with our water usage, and you can see where the spike is. We haven't used the water, and that's what we're coming to ask for, is an adjustment, because we have no evidence that that water spike was at all used.
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Champagne. I do know that this information was distributed to our board in advance. I believe you were in touch with the township manager also. And at this time, I'm going to ask Tom if you had any information regarding this issue before we deliberate.
Yes, the only thing I just wanted to add is that the township did replace the existing water meter with a new Mach 10 meter on August 21st. And then we did also test the old meter for accuracy, and it was within tolerance levels, so at or near 100% accuracy. So the township's confident that there's nothing going on with either our meter or our system either. So, in our case, we typically don't waive utility bills where there's nothing that's the fault of the township, right? So the homeowner has rightfully gone through and hired a plumber and tried to figure out the source of this problem that hasn't been ascertained. We, on our end, went above and beyond and replaced the meter and had it tested, and also sent out employees to the property, and we didn't discover a problem with our system. So it's a perplexing situation. But in these instances, the township typically doesn't waive these balances. And I communicated that to Mr. and Mrs. Champagne, and indicated that they had the right to go before the board to request relief.
Very good. Thank you. And just to confirm, the township hasn't found any reason for these leaks. And then also, Mrs. Champagne, your plumber that's been out didn't find any.
Two different plumbing
Didn't
companies.
find any. So there's no.
There's one thing, you had the plumber come out after we notified you, and the leak was already showing that it was gone. And the same thing when Public Works came out, it was showing the leak was gone already. So if the meter's not reading it at that time, no plumber is going to find anything. They would have had to been there when the water was spiked high, not after the reading has come back down.
And if there was a leak to our system, it wouldn't pass through the residential meter.
So I just have a question, Tom and Herb, you can answer this. The only thing that would trigger this high meter reading would either be a faulty meter, which has been ruled out, or an issue inside the home, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Commissioner Osborne.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Mrs. Champagne, thank you for addressing the board. And as Commissioner Kelly mentioned, we actually had this information prior to this evening. So, and I say that because this is not something that the township was trying to, ignore. But let me ask a couple questions, if I may. You had two plumbing companies come out to your home. And of course, it would make sense to me that they would come out after you were billed because you had no idea about the problem. Is that correct?
No, the billing actually came in September for this past quarter. The notification came on August 10th when the water meter specialist knocked on the door. And we were really surprised. We had no idea that there was a spike. There were no leaks in the house. I mean, there was no water outside, no puddles or any evidence of any excess water. I mean, 150,000
Yep.
gallons is a lot of water.
Yeah, and our
It's-
personnel proactively monitor for those types of situations,
see.
and that's how the initial contact occurred.
So the meter was changed on August 21st in response to a problem that the township proactively noticed? Is that?
No, the meter was swapped out because they weren't sure that the meter wasn't working correctly. We wanted to make sure it wasn't a meter fault also. So we got a hold of Neptune, had the meter sent back to them. They bench tested for accuracy reading, and it reads near 100%.
Okay, being accurate. So this new meter, is this a meter that could be the reading detected from outside the home?
Yes.
And the old one would not be able to?
No, both can both be radio read.
Okay,
But the newer one you can read daily. The old one, you couldn't get like live hour data.
daily being from, let's say, within a township building, or would they have to drive by?
No, we can get it right through. We can log into Neptune 360 and get that data.
So my question is, and this is really important to me because I'll share with you an experience that I had when I first bought my first home. So this was back years ago. And I was presented with a water bill that totally surprised me. And I called the water company and they said, that's it, that's it. What it turned out to be was a leaking toilet, and a toilet that's not leaking on the floor, but going into the overfill. And they were right. So my question to you would be this: is there anything, could this have been a possibility in your home, which would explain no leaks, nothing, but a toilet or toilets that were going into the overflow drain?
Not that the plumbing companies told us. We had them look at each toilet. Matter of fact, Herb Bender said, well, maybe there was something under the flap in the toilet. Well, we don't have flaps in our toilets. They're all flushmatics. We have 3 toilets. They're flushmatics, and there would be a sound if there was a leak. It would be very obvious. And the plumbers that looked at the toilets said, there's no leak here. There's no sound.
Okay. What could possibly explain this?
The water went through the meter. That's all I can say. I wasn't in the house personally to investigate it. I sent the meter specialist. Mike Elias was out there. Again, I don't know where the water went. I don't know if a hose was left on. I don't know. I'm not saying you left the hose on, don't take it that way or anything. I don't know if the water was used, it wasn't used. I don't know. I did everything I could do as leading the water department with getting the meter tested. Tom was generous enough to waive the fee to do the in-home investigation that Public Works did. We went above and beyond. When Dave took the meter read, saw the high consumption, went right away, knocked on their door, left them know that they did have a water spike. So I don't know where the water could have went.
So Herb, what you can definitively state is that the water did go into the home. From there, we don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
So I do have a question, Herb. You do have a meter now that you can see the reading, you can monitor the reading right from here. Can this have extra eyes on it in case there is a spike that you could call a plumber right away and say, look, it's high. Have someone come out right now. The problem's
And
happening.
they have that data too from when they did call. There is some in there that say possible intermittent leak. Doesn't mean it's definitely a leak.
Yeah.
It can mean they're using more water than normal at that time. But yes, the new meter has keyed a couple times that said intermittent leak.
And I was told that could just be an extra load of wash.
Yeah, and that's what I just said. It's just out of the ordinary. It's not necessarily that it's definitely a leak, but it has noticed higher spikes in water use.
The newer meters are very sensitive.
Mhm.
But nothing like 150,000 gallons. That's substantial water.
I wish. This is a non-agenda item, but I will address it. It doesn't need to be addressed, but I will. I'm dealing with this on a monthly basis. I'm a landlord. If I got an $1,100 bill, sometimes I'd rejoice, but as a landlord. Unfortunately, when I research this with our tenants, it's the same as what you're saying. Everything's perfect. We go in, there's nothing running. Well, then you hear a dripping faucet, or you see it. You see a toilet that's running, as Commissioner Osborne said. You don't see it unless you actually look at it and see the water going through the back. There's a myriad of reasons why, and I've learned them all. Unfortunately, and I've had meters checked and rechecked. This is not up in this area. I will be very clear. It's not South Whitehall Township, but it's just a fact that it happens. Where the water goes, I don't know, but tenants do it. Not that you are, but it just happens. And I've been doing it for 25 years, and I've never won with water departments. Once the meters are checked, and only one time I can actually say where a meter was checked and it was a defective meter. And I got credit for my sewer bill and my water bill, but that was it. So sympathize with you, but just the way it is. I hate to say it. It happens.
We've been living in this house since 1984.
I'm sorry?
We've been living in this home since 1984, and nothing like this has happened.
I agree.
I mean, we're responsible. If there's something wrong, we get it fixed right away. We don't.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask again, Tom, so the township in reviewing this entire matter have found no reason that any of this was township meter, nothing to do with the township. This is
Correct.
the meter into the home.
It's an accurate statement.
Is there a way that we could work with the resident to establish a payment plan to
Absolutely.
make this more broadly spread over time so that it's not such a burden?
Yes, we absolutely can do that.
Commissioner Osborne, did you have?
Thank you. So you have South Whitehall water. Not everyone in South Whitehall gets their water from South Whitehall. So this is why I'm going to ask this question. So the sewer bill is related to water usage. So my question and my point would be, can this couple anticipate a higher sewer bill that they're not even aware of right now?
Yes, they have received that sewer bill
They're
also.
aware of both. Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're asking for, is an
Both.
adjustment to the water and sewer bill.
And sewer. And I'm sorry, the sewer bill was how much?
$757.28.
And typically it's how much for this home?
About $70.
10 times. Yeah, okay. How old, Herb, do you have any idea how old this water meter was, the Neptune, which is good quality meter?
I do not have that in front of me, how old it was, but it was not out of the 20-year lifespan. I know that.
Okay. So Mr. and Mrs. Champagne, while you were there, do you remember this meter being changed? You were there for 30 years and Herb just mentioned it couldn't be more than 20 years old.
It could have been changed at one time.
Okay, yeah,
I don't remember that it was.
yeah. 20 years is a long time for something like okay.
Any other board discussion at this juncture? So at this point, we can take it under advisement if the board wants to have
Just one more point.
staff and administration.
Last
Sir,
2 weeks, we've been using 76 and 66 gallons.
the last 2 weeks. Thank you.
Be our normal amount.
Very good. Thank you.
My personal opinion is if we were able to establish that the township was at fault in any way, it would be our responsibility to cover this bill. Unfortunately, I don't believe we can establish that it was the township's fault in any way. And I think based on having the meter checked, we've almost shown that we're not at fault in any way, which is unfortunate, but
I would
that's
agree.
the way the facts have, that's the conclusion that the facts lead us to.
Correct. I would agree and would ask administration to continue to work with the resident if there's a way that we could help work out a payment plan. I don't know what else this board can do because it's been established that the township has done everything, testing to assure that there's not an issue with the meter or a leak on the township side of it.
Yeah, and just to answer Brad's question, I did pull up how old the meter was. It was installed on April 6th, 2015. So it was 8 years old, that meter.
Okay,
And
thank
it's a
you.
20-year
And-
lifespan.
And the customer name on the meter replacement form is Mark Champagne.
And Herbert's a 20-year lifespan.
Yes,
typically.
for the meters, yes.
And payment plans and things of that nature are handled by the administration and doesn't escalate to the board.
Okay.
So just for reference, it's something that happens all the time.
Very good. Any other comment or direction from the board?
Just one other clarification. The meter has a 10-year span. It was installed in 2015, is that correct? And that did check out. You thoroughly checked it once again, and it
Went back
was
to the-
functional.
Yes, it was sent out to Neptune where we buy the meters. They had their person bench test it. We got the results back. It was reading nearly 100%. Which I did furnish the bench testing for the meter to the Champagnes also, so.
Very good, thank you. Any other board comment?
I would, thank you, Commissioner Kelly. This is so unfortunate, and I'm sorry that it's happened to you. I really am. I think there's an explanation that you may not even be aware of that's come and gone. But I think with the diligence that our administration has done, I would support a payment plan that's comfortable as it can be for you, but it just seems like there's not a basis for excusing it. And I apologize for that. I really do. And I appreciate you coming to present your case because it's, we need to hear this. You know, if this is not only happening to you, but other residents, then that's something that we need to hear as a board. So I hope that you can, if the decision of the board is to give guidance to the administration to help you with a payment plan, I hope that that satisfies you in some way.
Appreciate the best you can do. And
I would make one comment. The new meter is much easier to read. Highly recommended.
I was going to ask, can you actually read it from your home?
Oh, yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
could read the other one as well, but it was,
Yeah.
I had to move around, but this one, you just look at it.
Yeah.
And I would ask Mr. Champagne, please continue to keep in touch with us, the township staff. We'd like to know if there's issues in the future with this. Please feel free to keep in touch, to come back to as many meetings as you like. All of our emails and phone numbers are on the website, so reach out to us at any time. Truly, thank you.
you know, if we had the old meter, you know, maybe there would be an issue, but right now we don't. So hopefully there won't be an issue with the new meter.
We hope so for you. Thank you very much. Thank you both. And thank you, staff, for working through this issue with the resident very much. Moving on to agenda item 5, our meeting minutes from the September 20th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting has been distributed to the board in advance. Does anyone have any comments or questions? I have a motion to approve.
Approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Moving down to agenda item 6A, we will be removing this discussion item from the agenda this evening. We'll go on to agenda item 6B. We have for direction and discussion, consideration for approval of advertisement of said ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of South Whitehall, County of Lehigh, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 336, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, General Parking Regulations of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township to amend Section 336-33, Parking Prohibited at All Times in Certain Locations, to provide for a parking prohibition located at 18th Street North on the east side of the street between the property known as 1525 North 18th Street, extending from the southeast corner of Stanley and North 18th Streets for a distance of approximately 78 feet south to the northern side of the driveway established for this property, and to provide for a repealer clause, retention of rights to enforce, severability clause, and effective date. Turn it over to Tom to present.
Thank you. That ordinance pretty much speaks for itself, but basically, Township Administration is asking for approval of advertisement of the ordinance in order to effectuate a sign request at the vicinity of 1527 North 18th Street. So the ordinance goes from 1525 North 8th Street to a 78-foot distance to the driveway. Basically, upon review by Public Works staff, there's a clear sight distance triangle problem with this location, and we already noted that it's already a no parking loading zone. So we're essentially just converting the no parking loading zone to a permanent no parking zone per the request from the property owner.
Very good. Are there any comments or questions by the board? Any from the public? Do I have a motion to proceed with advertisement of said ordinance? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7A, we have a resolution appointing Howe Associates as a professional services management consultant for recycling data collection services. And Tom, if you'd present.
Yes, thank you. So to provide background information, South Whitehall Township is currently utilizing Huff Associates to collect residential and commercial recycling data and then submit both the required county recycling reports and the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection 904 Recycling Performance Grant, which is an annual grant each year that the township can take advantage of. The township pays Huff Associates 25% commission on any grant amount collected over $45,600 on any associated work. So to provide background data on the recycling performance grant, in fiscal year 2023, for recycling data year 21, the township's taken in net revenue of $78,725.65. 2022 fiscal year, for their 2020 recycling data year, the net revenue was $88,182.60. 2021 fiscal year with 2019 recycling data year, net revenue was $99,633.62. Commission fees in each of those years was just over $11,000 for the 21 recycling year, $14,194 for the 2020 recycling year, and the 2019 recycling year, the fee was just over $18,000. So in making this evaluation, we looked at how Huff Associates has been able to collect widespread recycling data from the commercial entities in the township. And they're also ensuring the accuracy of the data. So it's recommended to continue to use Huff Associates, especially given the fact that we're noting that the 2022 recycling data year appears to show a trend that that we are significantly increasing our grant revenue. With that said, we'd like to continue to work with Huff Associates for the recycling data years of 23, 24, and 25. The resolution in front of you would allow us to sign that contract on behalf of the board.
Very good, Tom. Thank you for that presentation. Does the board have any questions or comments on this agenda item? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
Make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to agenda item 7B, we have a resolution extending a conditional offer of employment for entry-level position of police officer in the Township's Police Department to applicant number 84989, conditioned upon the individual satisfactorily completing the background investigation, polygraph examination, medical examination, and psychological examination to confirm their fitness for duty. And I'll ask Captain Brown to present this agenda item.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. We're just asking for the next person on the civil service list for our current openings. It would be applicant 84989 for a conditional offer to continue in the background.
Very good, thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? Any from the public? Do I have a motion to proceed and approve said resolution?
Make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7C will be removed from the agenda this evening. Moving on to agenda item 8A, motions, South Whitehall Township Police and non-uniform pension plans, 2023 state aid allocation notification of receipt and approval of recommended distribution allocation, and 2023 minimum municipal obligation payments. Tom, if you present.
Yes, so the township received its state aid on September 27th. So with that being said, we now need to make our MMO payment within 30 days from receipt. So the amount of the state aid that we received for the pension plans was $815,904.35. So we are allocating the state aid to each of the respective pension plans based on a distribution formula derived from our 2022 AG 385 report. So the number of units for each plan can serve as the basis for distributing the state aid to each plan. But it's also important to note that the state aid that we receive doesn't pay for the entire MMO. So it's a little bit of a math exercise, but it's important that we're allocating the money in an equitable fashion. So just for reference, a unit is defined as an employee that was on the payroll for at least 6 months for the preceding year that the AG 385 form was filed. For Act 600 defined benefit police pension plans, each eligible employee actually counts as 2 units. So the recommended distribution of the state aid is as follows. For the police defined benefit based on 80 units at the unit value of $5,827.89. The state aid allocation would be $466,231.06. 2023 approved MMO was $1,207,107. So the general fund allocation is $740,875.94. The office defined benefit plan has 7 units, which we then have state aid allocation to $40,795.21. 2023 approved MMO is $780,104. General fund allocation $683,1515, so $683,015.15. Public works defined benefit plans 10 units, $58,278.89, with an approved MMO of $688,557. General fund allocation is $630,278.11. So the defined contribution plan, so that's the plan where it's 6% of the employee wages. We have 43 eligible units, and that works out to $250,599.19. So the MMO is $178,594. So we actually received more state aid for that plan than we need. So we distributed that back to the office defined benefit plan. So basically, the end result is that on the defined contribution plan, our year-to-date payroll is slightly higher than what was estimated in the MMO. So we would need to prepay our defined contribution MMO in the amount of $194,305.63. So motion is requested as follows from the board, that we approve the state aid allocations as recited this evening in the amount of $815,904.35, and then a total general fund allocation of $2,054,169.20, broken out as defined in the MMOs. And just for general reference, we're putting out total monies of $2,870,073.55 based on an MMO amount of $2,854,362 for a difference of what the MMO and what we're putting out of $15,711.55. The amount funded by state aid is $815,904.35. amount funded by the general fund is $2,054,169.20. But the good news is that even with that additional surplus, we're actually under budget, or that additional amount to the defined contribution, we're actually under budget, because we budgeted $56,950 of an additional MMO payment. So the difference there is $41,238.45. So put simply, the good news is that we received more revenue in the state aid than what we budgeted. The unit price was higher. We are putting out exactly, and actually less than what was budgeted overall. And then we'll complete our MMO obligation for the 2023 fiscal year.
Excellent. That is very good news. Thank you for that presentation. And it looks like the pension fund is well funded this year.
This year, yes.
Yes, very good. Are there any comments or questions from the board on this agenda item? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with said motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Tom and finance team and all who were involved with that. Motion 8B, Jordan Creek Greenway DCNR contract number BRC TAG 25-173, grant extension request to December 31st, 2024. And Tom, if you present.
Thank you. To recap, South Whitehall Township was previously awarded a $150,000 DCNR grant for design and engineering for phases 1 and 2 of the Jordan Creek Greenway, so segments 35 to 45. Segments 35 to 45 connects Weir Mill Road to Cedar Crest Boulevard along the Jordan Creek. It also provides a direct connection between Parkland High School and Covered Bridge Park. South Whitehall Township has completed the required design and engineering work needed to construct the trail from Weir Mill Road to Lap Road, which is segments 41 to 45. Through Covered Bridge Park, as the board is aware, that's subject to a $1 million TASA grant, and we've secured all necessary permits needed to complete that project. Furthermore, we've worked with PennDOT to go through all of the engineering requirements to put the project out to bid in either November or December at this point for segments 41 to 45. So most of the resources from a personnel and budgetary standpoint were focused on those segments for this year. So we still have additional work for segments 35 to 40. We've already secured easements for that section, but we still remain in the design and engineering phase. It's also important to note this year we completed a cultural resources assessment, and that was a previously unknown need as part of this project, so that did delay the project a little bit. But basically, the need for this extension of 1 year is related mostly to the fact that we've been focusing on the TASA grant because that had a concrete expiration date, which we did not want to lose the $1 million grant funding. So with that all said, I'd like to request an extension to December 31st, 2024 for the Jordan Creek Greenway DCNR grant. In making that request, I want to very highly stress the fact that we are out of funding this year on our PO, existing POs. So we will be including money in the budget in the 2024 capital projects for additional money to complete this work. Because the way the township had done this work in the past was we received the reimbursement through DCNR in the amount of $130,000 up front, $135,000 up front, or as we were completed some work, but now we're getting to the point where we're incurring the township match. So it's a 50-50 match. So we only have $15,000 in funds left from the grant revenue to use next year. So I just want to be upfront and make sure you're aware that we'll need to refresh a new PO for this project.
Thank you, Tom. Will the refresh of the PO be similar dollar amount as it was in the 2023 budget?
It wasn't actually included in the 23 budget because it was using a rolled over PO. Okay. So it'll be a brand new amount of approximately, I think we're looking at somewhere $70,000, $75,000.
Very good. Thank you. I just had one question on the cultural assessment. Were there any findings when that was done? Nothing. Okay. Thank you.
No, nothing that would delay the project.
Nothing. Correct. Open up to the board. Are there any comments or questions?
Just a quick question, Tom. As we ask some of the residents to come before us, is this enough time?
This should be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we as staff really need to close this out.
Are there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
I make the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Motion 8C, we have a motion to formally accept the resignation of Scott A. Hoke, Chairman of the Civil Service Commission. I'll ask Captain Brown to present.
Yes, the police department would especially like to thank Dr. Hoke for all his time. He's been on the Civil Service Board for 7 years. Without the Civil Service Board, we wouldn't be able to hire or promote. So it's an essential function, and we are grateful for Scott's service.
Very good, thank you. I will concur. I've attended multiple meetings. He's been an integral member of that committee and very valuable. So we wish him well and thank him very much for his service to our community and to our police department. The board have any comments or questions?
Just one. I've known Scott personally basically forever. He's a good family friend. He's truly an expert in his field, and I appreciate him sharing his expertise as a member of our Civil Service Commission for the past, I believe, 6 or 7 years. So I wanted to thank him and wish him all the best, and he will be missed.
Very well said. Is there any public comment? Do I have a motion to approve said motion? I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Motion 8D, a motion requesting permission to proceed with advertising and placement of equipment and vehicles on municipal bid for disposition. And I'll ask our Director of Township Operations, Herb Bender, to present.
Thank you. Public Works and Administration is seeking approval to place some vehicles and equipment on municipal bid. These vehicles have been replaced or will be replaced shortly. Please see the packet that is attached for everything that will be placed on the auction. The estimate for everything that is in this packet totals $40,600. These funds that are collected from the auction will go to the Capital Reserve Fund that was set up earlier this year to help future fleet expenses. This will be advertised in local paper as required by law. Public Works is respectfully requesting a motion to approve the advertising and the placement of vehicles on municipal bid.
Thank you, Herb. Are there any comments or questions on this agenda item?
I do have a comment, please. I just wanted to thank you, Herb, for putting this together. Really comprehensive. And from looking at the numbers and the years of some of these vehicles, we've really got a lifetime of service from them and have used them for a long, long time. So thank you for such a comprehensive list of vehicles.
Thank you. I'd also have to pass on to Brian Knopf, the parts clerk, and the mechanics. They put a lot of work into this packet also. I will definitely do
Agreed. Any other board comments? Any from the public? Do I have a motion to approve said motion?
So moved.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Motion 8E, we have a motion requesting permission to transfer funds in the amount of $2,500 within the fire fund from vehicle maintenance to fire prevention expenses. And Tom, if you'd present.
Sure. So the fire fund is in need of a budget transfer in order to cover costs for fire prevention programs for this fiscal year. This line item was originally not budgeted due to the fact there was no one from the departments to provide this service. They've since corrected that. So the specific transfer would be $2,500 from GL line item 034-11302. 40245 is the object of the vehicle maintenance to GL line 031411302, object 40791 for fire prevention expenses. So not adding additional money, just transferring existing money.
Very good, thank you. Are there any comments from the board? Any public comment? We have a motion to approve said motion. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Motion 8F, motion requesting permission to proceed with advertising of requests for proposal RFP for body-worn cameras, in-car cameras, and a digital evidence management system for South Whitehall Township Police Department. And I'll ask Captain Brown to present this agenda item.
The police department currently utilizes WatchGuard for their body-worn cameras and the in-car cameras. WatchGuard was acquired by Motorola and has made a decision to discontinue the WatchGuard product lines. They will no longer provide service or hardware support for the current platforms. To prevent liability issues with operating unsupported cameras, the police department has been financially preparing to switch to a new system. 673,606.27 of ARPA funds have been dedicated to this project, and the PD was awarded a PCCD grant in the amount of $3,099 and a small raw and tribal micro grant for $100,000 for a total of $400,099 in grant funding. The total amount between grants and the ARPA is $1,073,705.27. We are seeking a long-term solution to the quickly evolving technology market to ensure the police department does not incur large expenditures in the future while providing a solution that serves the needs of the South Whitehall Township Police Department. The Police Department, Finance Department, and our IT provider collaborated to draft this request for proposal for police body-worn cameras, in-car video solutions, and digital evidence management systems. The RFP is intended to provide a long-term solution, approximately 15 years of hardware and software upgrades.
Very good. Thank you, Captain Brown. Does the board have any comments or questions?
I do have a quick question. Captain Brown, I have a quick question for you. Motorola acquired Watchdog and they're not making it anymore. Do you know if Motorola, just a question, I'm curious, do you know if Motorola will have their own brand now? Will they continue to make these cameras?
Motorola has their own version of a body-worn camera that they are selling now. The WatchGuard has been, we can't even buy the cameras anymore.
Thank you.
Any other board comment? Any from the public? Okay, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Captain Brown. Moving on to agenda item 9A, boards and commissions, informational items and vacancies. I'll ask our township manager to present.
Thank you. So upcoming meetings and events to be posted on the website are Saturday, October 7th, 11 a.m. is Fall Fest, which is subject to possible rain. So please stay tuned on that one. It may not occur. Monday, October 9th, 7 p.m. Parks and Recreation Board. Tuesday, October 10th, 6 p.m. Crime Watch meeting. Wednesday, October 11th, 10 a.m. is a Civil Service Commission meeting. Wednesday, October 8th, 7 p.m. is a Board of Commissioners meeting. And I'd also like to highlight there's a Board of Commissioners meeting on Thursday, October 26th, which is at 5 p.m. for a budget special meeting. Also, I'd like to highlight the fact that we have a number of vacancies and or expired terms that we've advertised for. Additional information is on the township website for anyone interested in applying.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. And I would just remind residents as well, although the public meetings that were read are listed on the website, but they're also all available virtually if residents would like to participate in that fashion as well. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10, direction.
Kelly, I just had a quick comment on that.
Sure.
I know we've advertised for vacancies and it will begin scheduling interviews once we've gotten applications. Just in looking at the sheer number of vacancies and number of volunteer positions that might require a reappointment. From a procedural standpoint, I would just prefer to do the interviews on the front end, get as many of the interviews done as we can. Obviously, some of the interviews are for more than one position. If an individual checks that they want to serve on 3 or 4 boards, in accordance with the policy that we adopted, let's do the interviews. And then later on, even if we have to do it all in one fell swoop, have board discussion decision about appointment later rather than interview one, then appoint one, interview another one, appoint one. If we could somehow work around it where we could kind of do this in mass, that would be preferable from a time saving standpoint.
Yep, Tracy and I already discussed that and we're on the same page. with that.
Very good.
We want to be as efficient as possible.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Roth. On to agenda item 10, direction discussion. We have a new sign request for 19th and Helen. I'll ask our Director of Township Operations, Herb Bender, to present.
Good evening. Currently at the intersection of 19th and Helen, it is a three-way stop. This new request is looking to turn this into a four-way stop. Administration did meet with PD to see if the intersection was a problem. After looking back 5 years, this intersection has recorded 5 minor accidents. This request is also looking for a watch child sign to be installed at this location. After talking this over with PD and looking back at the data, I do not think the change is warranted currently. Even if the township wanted to turn this into a four-way stop, we would have to do a traffic study to see if the stop sign is warranted at all. If the Board of Commissioners would like us to engage with LTAP to possibly do the traffic study. This intersection is a unique intersection also, though. Half this intersection is owned by the township. Half of this intersection is owned by the state. So even if we move forward with a traffic study, we are still going to have to work with the state. And where he would like the stop sign is on the state corner, which Tony had pointed out to me after discussing this with him. So it is going to take a lot of work to try to get this through. Ultimately, it's not our intersection where the stop sign would go. So it would be the state's ultimate say, but I do not have a problem with working with LTOP to get the traffic study done to relay that to the state.
Very good. Thank you for presenting. I went out and looked at this intersection. I'm familiar with it, but I wanted to look in light of this particular request. And my opinion, I think it would be wise for the township to engage LTAP to take a look at the traffic volume and determine if that's a possibility, understanding it needs to go to the state for their ultimate decision. But I believe it could provide good information for us on the township end. But I'll open it to the board for their opinions as well.
I do have a comment on this as well. I did a field trip and I drove out to the intersection. I was familiar with it, but I just wanted to sit there for a while and observe. And of course, I'm not an engineer. And you certainly don't want to put a stop sign there for traffic control or speed control. That will not work. But, in the township, we're always looking to better ourselves with walkability and bike safety and so forth. And I think it's worthwhile looking into it. I really do. Plus, if it's coming from a residents, especially long-term residents, they know their neighborhoods and they may see things that maybe I didn't see by sitting there for a half hour or so. And I think it's worth looking into with LTAP. And I would really appreciate if you would go forward with that.
I have no opinion either way on the stop sign. I haven't had the opportunity yet to go out and observe. Understanding that some of the criteria for a stop sign, just for my own knowledge, because I don't know the answer to this, what's the threshold or criteria for a watch children sign? What typically, I just don't know if there is one. I'm just curious.
There's really not much because it's not an enforcement sign. That is just like a warning sign. So there's really not much. What I would say for the watch child sign is I was going to reach out to the homeowner and see where he wanted placed. I mean, it's a pretty busy intersection. So I don't know where kids would be playing there. So I would have to get a hold of the homeowner to see exactly where he's looking to have that placed.
Did you talk to the homeowner, Herb? You said you were talking to him about the sign, but other than that?
I did call, I did not get an answer. So I am going to reach back out to him. It was on the agenda for tonight. So I was going to reach out tomorrow again, let him know which way we were going to go and how this had to work.
I'm just curious as to what his feelings are of why he needs it. Not the watch child, but why the four-way instead of three. I read the report, but it doesn't really say, I want to know what his logic is, why I need it.
It just says for safety here.
Right. That's a very broad word, and that's it. So I guess if you do talk to him, ask him obviously if every street was four-way, would that make it every intersection was a four-way stop sign, does that make it safer? I mean, if you did your homework, which you did on the 5 years, 5 minor accidents, you don't want to see any accidents, obviously.
Yep.
God forbid there be a serious accident, but I just think I'd be curious as to, why he's proposing that.
Yeah,
Sure.
and to your point, he may be seeing something that we're not. So, yeah.
Right.
I agree with you.
Moving on to, we have no old business. Agenda item 12, courtesy of the floor. Again, opportunity for any member of the public to approach the board on non-agenda items. Is there anyone online, Dave? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll move on to item 13. I need a motion to authorize payment of invoices and disbursements. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We have no executive session scheduled this evening. I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This motion is adjourned. Thank you.